Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about inequalities. Specifically for this video, I'm going to talk about graphing inequalities on a number line. For a refresh on what inequalities are, I'll drop a link below for my introduction video. First thing I want to talk about for this video is what I mean by a solution of an inequality. A solution of an inequality is any number that makes the inequality true. Here's an example. If I was to say x is greater than 5, the solutions of this inequality are all numbers that are greater than 5, but not including 5, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. This is letting you know that every value numerically bigger than 5 is a solution to this inequality. That also includes decimals and fractions in value that are larger than 5. So one other thing I will mention for solutions to inequalities, specifically about the symbols here, we have greater than and we have less than. These refer to strictly greater than or strictly less than, respectively. So strictly. Now you don't have to say strictly greater than or strictly less than. It helps sometimes when you get further later on in mathematics. One other thing I will mention is that 5 is not a solution to this inequality because 5 is not greater than itself. However, if I did this symbol now says is greater than or equal to. In that case, 5 would be a solution to this inequality. That's a restriction on the inequality because we say greater than or less than. It's strictly greater than or strictly less than whatever number we're dealing with, not including that number. Or what we can also refer to as exclusion. We are excluding that value from the solution to this inequality. The two other symbols, greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, are referred to as inclusion. Because we are including that value as part of the solution to the inequality, which is why when I did this earlier, I said 5 is a solution to this inequality because it's true. 5 is greater than or equal to 5. Inclusion. We are including that value in the inequality for the solution to that inequality. Let's take a look at a few examples about how we graph inequalities. So we'll do this one up here first. This one says y is less than 6. When you're graphing inequalities on a number line, you have technically two ways that you can represent how to graph this. You can either graph it, because we're talking about less than, with either an open circle at that specific number or a parenthesis, an open parenthesis specifically. Either representation is correct. One doesn't outrule the other one. They mean the same thing because you're referring to which direction. First, you're talking about which direction you're going, which in this case would be less than 6. So all values less than 6 are a solution. What you would do is you would draw either of these symbols, not this one, because we're talking about values that are smaller than 6. So either one of these, the open circle or the open parenthesis, are acceptable. I'll use an open circle. And then what you do is you will shade on the number line in that direction. Just like that. Another way to represent the solution is to draw an arrow to indicate the solutions for this inequality. Typically, the arrow is the more popular part, I would say, the better representation for showing the solutions to this inequality. So y is less than 6, All values that are less than 6, not including 6, is a solution to this inequality. The one directly beneath it, we have x is greater than 0. We had an open circle. In this problem, I can use a parenthesis for this one. And remember, greater than 0, but not including 0. And then every value bigger than 0, but not including 0, is a solution to this inequality. And I'll draw the arrow. There we go. Every value of x greater than 0 is a solution to this inequality. Let's look at two more. The one up top says m is less than or equal to -1. So here, I can use either a closed circle now, because we're talking about inclusion, or I can use a square bracket. Much like the open circle and open parenthesis, you can use either one. Because we're dealing with the inclusion, you can use either the closed circle or the square bracket. Does not matter which. Just make sure that that closed circle or bracket starts at -1. And because we're talking about values that are less than or equal to -1, we will shade in the direction that is strictly less than or equal to -1, which would be all values this way. One more down here. N is greater than or equal to 2. I'll use the square bracket this time just so you can see both representations. And again, you can interchange these. Just make sure that you're using the correct representation for the inclusion versus the exclusion. So greater than or equal to 2, square bracket at 2, shading all values greater than or equal to -2. So remember, these two inequalities here, we're dealing with inclusion, which means you can use either a closed circle or a square bracket. Versus here, where you have exclusion, open circle, or parenthesis. They're interchangeable. You can use either one. And then over here with the inclusion. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.